Good morning. Welcome to the live stream. Whoa. Welcome to the live stream. My name is Angela. How's it going? That's a little longer starting screen than I normally do, but I had to find my slippers, pour myself a new cup of coffee, stuff like that. Welcome. Today is Tuesday, March 10th. Today is day 4 of a 6-day sprint, streaming every day through Thursday this week. We're going to do the same thing again next week. Not really working on anything special for this sprint, just trying to get in some extra time, just get some extra reps in. I do get asked every once in a while, how do I get good at development? How long is it going to take me to learn development? How long will it take me to learn HTML, CSS, and JavaScript? And the answer is, excuse me, oh my gosh. My allergies right now are so bad. My runny nose, my scratchy throat, it's worse than ever. It's worse than ever. I don't have my chat ready. What was I saying? Oh yeah, to the people who ask me, how long is it going to take me to get good at this? How long will it take me to learn HTML, CSS, and JavaScript? And the answer is that you have to put in the reps, right? You have to practice in order to get good at it. And that's exactly what I do on this channel is I practice HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And that's what we're working on today. We're working on this project called Colorado. And it's going really, really well. I think this is, what is today? Does it even say here if I hover? No, it doesn't say what it is. I think this is like 12 or 13 part. One moment, I need to blow my nose. Oh, these allergies, I'm telling you. Okay. Yeah, I think this is like part 12 of this particular project. It's going really well. It's many pages. I think it's going to end up being about 9 pages, maybe 10, I think around 9. Right now, we are in the process of styling what I call, what most people call is kitchen sink HTML, which is where we built a page template, we put in some kitchen sink HTML, and it's just a variety of elements that we style to make sure that the styling is complete and comprehensive for the project. There is a GitHub repository for this. I have it linked in the description below, and I can pull that up now. Wow. I have not felt allergies like I do right now in this moment today in a long time. So I'll put it up in the chat there if you want to take a look. Everything, I don't have the README for this yet. Everything that I do is open source. Oh gosh, darn it. Well, I'm going to have to go buy some allergy medication today because I've been up for a few hours already today. And the allergies just hit me. Like as soon as I sit down, it just hit me. Yeah, so happy for spring, not happy for all of this. So I apologize. When I take myself off camera and mute myself, it's so I can blow my nose because it is so chronically runny to begin with. I know this is so gross, so TMI, but that's what I'm doing. And right now it's springtime in Minnesota. The snow has melted. The trees are just starting to bloom and it's hitting me. And it's hitting me today especially hard. So I apologize for that. GitHub. Here's our GitHub repository. Everything I do on this channel, I put on GitHub as an open source, basically static template. So if you wanted to use this for a personal project, maybe you wanted to build a WordPress website or build a WordPress theme, these, everything I do is open source, commercial, everything. So you are welcome to use this any way that you want, and I'll get the README done for this as well. And GoGo Elmo was here. He was here this morning. He had meetings. He's doing his first design internship. So he's going to have the stream open, but he's probably not going to be here like keeping an eye on the chat, which means it's just you and me. Oh boy, I'm excited because I have several mods for the channel, but they all have normal jobs during the day. Nothing but respect for that. Hello, welcome, good morning. Happy to have you. ABC123 is here. Namaste. And is this free? Are you asking about the template or are you asking about the stream? I think you're asking about the template. Yeah, the template is free. Everything that I do on my GitHub, everything is open source, MIT license, commercial, personal. You don't even have to give me credit. I mean, that would be nice, but this is my way of giving back to the open source community. I've been a front-end developer and software engineer for almost 13 years. It'll be 13 years in May. So really 13 years. I think we can round at this point. And I started learning in 2009, 2010. There was, I mean, dev YouTube was pathetic, to say the least. It was really bad. Lynda.com existed. Lynda.com is now LinkedIn Learning. It wasn't as helpful for new developers, in my opinion. Stack Overflow was a big deal. A List Apart, a Book Apart, Smashing Magazine, Code Drops, and a little grit and determination. That's what it took to be a developer back in 2009, 2010. It took grit and determination. And it's always been like that for me. Obviously, dev YouTube has come a long way. We have Udemy now. We have courses. We have tutorials. We have people putting incredible work out into the world. I mean, think about like Dave Gray, Web Dev Simplified, Kyle, Theo, the Primogen, Michael Paulson. Oh God, I love the Primogen. I have a little crush on the Primogen. I think he's awesome. I love him. I enjoy his content so much. And of course, the GOAT, Brad Traversy. I mean, Brad Traversy, in my opinion, he like set the standard for dev YouTube. The bar is so high because of him. I just think he's incredible. Yeah, if I could ever even enter the realm of it, honestly, if I could just be respected, I'm not even saying that I need like millions of subscribers, but if I could just earn the kind of respect that Brad Traversy has, wow. Like if people thought of me that way, like, yeah, she can actually do the work. That's what I mean by that, right? Yeah, I love Brad Traversy. And right now I'm just really enjoying the Primogen. I think Michael Paulson is so delightful, so funny, has such an incredible sense of humor. And it goes without saying that he can put his money where his mouth is. I mean, he is clearly an extremely talented developer. You could just tell that by watching his videos. I don't know. I think he's great. So Dev YouTube is an incredible place to be right now. And I do something a little bit different than other people do. I am all vanilla, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. No frameworks, no libraries. So I know that React and Tailwind in particular are incredibly important right now. You probably are going to have a difficult time finding a job as a front-end developer if you don't know those things. However, you do still need to know some vanilla. I believe that that's important, and that's what I'm here trying to show people, that you can do an incredible amount of work with vanilla. You don't need compilers, you don't need Node, you don't need a package manager. You can just, with index.html, style.css, script.js, the three things that the browser renders natively, you can build an incredible website just with those 3 things, and you don't need a framework or a library to do it. And I think that it's incredibly important to know how to do that, and it will serve you well. Trust me, it will serve you well. I have done a lot of agency work. I've done a lot of freelancing, a lot of contracting. It'll save your ass, trust me, because new developers and junior developers, when you start a new job, you get the backlog tasks, you get the legacy code, you get the clients who have been around for a decade or so and who are in maintenance mode. You're not going to get shiny new React apps and Tailwind builds. You're going to get spaghetti CSS files. You're going to get files where the attrition level of backend developers who hate CSS but had to write CSS, you're going to be fixing their code. And I don't know how you're going to do that if you don't at least know a little bit of vanilla CSS in particular. Know the difference between a div and a span. Understand the difference between display inline and display block. Those things are really, really important. So there's that. Okay, that's my rant for today. Let's start working on our project, shall we? So here's the Colorado page template. We're really smack dab in the middle of this kitchen sink HTML. We finished yesterday working on this table, which turned out pretty good, if I do say so myself. Look at that. Oh, she's beautiful. Hang on. We'll go here. Look at this beautiful table and how responsive it is. Come on. Stop it. Stop it right now. Accessible, responsive. How do you not love vanilla CSS? How do you not love vanilla CSS? So, okay, let's keep going. What's next? So this is everything that we've styled. I would like to put a little more code into this. So this is pre-formatted with let's look here in the dev tools. So this is pre-formatted with a child code. And then we did one right underneath it where it's just pre-formatted. And this was pre with a code child. I don't normally do that. Usually when I do pre-formatted text, I just use pre. So let's put in a little, we're not going to do it right now, but eventually let's put in like a bigger code block so we can really see what that looks like. But we got all the way up to our table, which is right here. We got all the way up to our table styled yesterday. So next we have some media elements. Honestly, I don't know what I would even really do different here. Let's go ahead and put in a placeholder image. And we can make sure that our images are styled appropriately. We have a bunch of images, so whoops, hang on here. Images optimized. That's not really. Oh, stop. Oh, this again. I don't know why the preview keeps doing this. I'm just going to close this. We don't need this right now, I don't think. What? There. Okay. So let's look at all of our images. That's not the... Let's use this one. There we go. So to style images, we definitely want to make sure that images are always inside a figure element. We also have a fig caption here. Okay. Figures are block level elements. The image should be block level inside the figure. Do we want to constrain the figure? I don't think so. We might want to put in, so it's going to be stretched a little. That's not the end of the world. Okay, where's our style.css? So here is our figure. I always put in margin 0 for default figure styles. Yeah, we'll just say width 100%, height auto. Do we want to set an aspect ratio? Do we want all of our images to have a defined aspect ratio? That is such a good question. We could just automatically do everything 16:9. Why not? So then our images, as long as an image is inside a set of figure tags, yeah, let's do 2 separate. So let's do figure, image. So these styles are only going to apply if it's inside a set of figure elements, but we've got separate styles if somebody doesn't use figure. You should, but I can't control what happens outside once I release this into the wild, right? So we'll say width 100%, height 100%, and then we'll do object fit cover. So now we have a nice 16:9 aspect ratio. Our image fits neatly into the figure. Next we have some fig captions. So I'm going to center this and we'll style that text a little bit. So I'm going to say text transform uppercase. We'll do a little letter spacing, maybe 1 pixel, and I'll say text align center. I think fig caption's a block level element, so that works. And then let's use just a little slightly grayer color. So we do have an accessible gray, which is just this medium gray here, but it's just a tiny little bit of contrast. There we go. And oh, stop. Do we need to give this any padding? We can try it, I guess. So maybe 0.5 rems on the top and bottom, 0 on the left and right. Yeah, that looks nice. Okay, so now we have styles for figures with images and fig captions. Perfect. Love it. And then this would fit into anything. This would fit into anything, any size column, anything. And whoever, if you are doing a more complex layout, you could change the size of this, but this would fit neatly as a block level element into any width that you have. Nice. Okay. Next we have a media file and a video file. I don't think I'm going to style audio and video controls. Yeah. I'm going to make the executive decision to not style that. I think that's pretty specific. I would rather put in some lorem ipsum and maybe style some columns instead. So if we wanted to style some columns, that's pretty easy to do. Would we want to put that class on the paragraph tags or on a div? I think it would be better to put it on a div. So let's do this. We'll say div 1 column. And then let's do div 2 columns. Oops. And then let's do one with 3 columns. So we'll say div 3 columns. So we'll do some lorem ipsum. We'll do some more lorem ipsum. Nope. Paragraphs, lorem. And we'll do some more. So this is 1 column right here, and then we'll do 2. Let's do a little more in the 1 column up here. Oops. Okay, perfect. So I'm going to keep this very simple. I'm going to go right here. So I'll say 1 column. Well, 1 column, you don't need anything, do you? If it's 1 column. There is no style for that because everything's 1 column by default. So really it would just be 2 columns and 3 columns. 2 columns. Isn't it literally just columns? 2 auto. 3 columns. Columns. 3 auto. We're so close. We're so close. So these are block level elements. Oh, but it would be the paragraphs. 2 column. No, it wouldn't be the paragraphs. I want the block level element to be the columns. So here's, okay, that worked. Oh, it did work. Okay. So we just need to make sure that we've got margin and we have to control, yeah, we have to control the, what is it, the break inside. We want to make sure that 2 columns, 3 columns. I'm thinking about this. Do I have to control the paragraph? Break inside a void so we don't get the extra spacing. So I don't think we want to put this on the paragraphs. There we go. Yeah, but we still have to deal with the spacing on top. So let's take out break inside a void. I'm glad I decided to do this. We'll say margin 0, 0, 1 rem on the bottom. All right, perfect. So now we eliminated that extra space on top. And then let's just make sure that we have these divs have margin. Break inside a void, and then we'll say margin 0, 0, 1 rem on the bottom. Yeah, that works. And then let's put some headings in here. So we have an H2 inside this section. Let's put some H3s in here. We'll say H3, tertiary heading. This is 1 column. 1 column. And this is also an H3, tertiary heading. This is going to be 2 columns. And then this will be 3 columns. H3, tertiary heading, 3 columns. And we may want this outside. I don't think semantically it matters or that it has to be inside. There we go. There we go. Look at that. 1 column, 2 columns, 3 columns. Let's add, I'm going to add another paragraph tag here. Some more content. There we go. I like it. Hello, welcome. Thanks for joining us. All right, so here's what we have so far for our kitchen sink. Yeah, I think it was a good idea to take out the media things. I don't care about those. So in my experience, it's pretty rare that I have to style those. Let's style this too. What was this? I think we missed something up here. So this was the table caption. Yeah, we could definitely style that too. Oops. This is the table caption. I'm going to do the same thing that I did for the fig caption. I'm going to say text transform, uppercase, letter spacing, 1 pixel. I'm going to change the color. We'll do our gray color, medium gray color, and I'm just going to give it a little bit of padding on the bottom. So 0.5 rems. There, that looks great. Beautiful. What's next? Form elements. So we've got a select. We have radio buttons. These are radio buttons. These are checkboxes. We have a text area, a file uploader, and some buttons. We already have button styles. Let's take a look at this here. So I think I made my buttons display block. Yes, I already made my buttons display block, but it looks like my button class is display inline block. So that's fine. It doesn't need to be inside a paragraph tag though. So I'm going to take that out and let's put these on their own line. And then let's give each of these a class of button. And we can't see them because our button styles actually look like this on the home page. So we're doing this a little bit backwards, but that is okay. So we're going to start with let's just do some button styles with our accent color. So this is button, and we'll say solid. We're going to say button solid. So we'll say button solid. The background color will be our accent color. Our color will be, well, it's already white, so we don't have to change that. I think we just have to change our border color to also be our accent color. There we go. Look at that. So let's update. All we really have to do is update the color on hover, focus, hover, active. So I'm actually going to copy this. We'll add solid, and we don't need to worry about this. We're going to change this to our accent color. There we go. Those are the button styles. Okay, form elements now. What do we have here? All right. Why is everything inside of paragraph tags? Yeah, so let's work on our markup here. Not everything needs to be inside paragraph tags. It's not paragraph text. So I feel like paragraph tags are being used as like a block level element. It's not really the right way to do that. Okay. Give these a little space. So we've got label, email, password. Each of our labels are going to get a class called screen reader only text. We already have screen reader only. We already have CSS for that. So now the labels are going to be hidden. And inputs by default are, I think, display inline block. I'm pretty sure. Let's see here. Yep, display inline block. So this is the user agent style sheet for Chrome. And I would guess that, I mean, I don't know for sure, but I would guess that Firefox and Safari are also display inline block. All right, we'll take that paragraph out. Then we've got a couple of field sets. Here's a label. Here's another label. All right. Again with the paragraph tags. All right, so here's our text area. Here's our file upload. So we'll say class screen reader only. And we'll do the same thing here. Well, do we want to remove the label though? I think for the message, yes. But I think for upload a file and range, we probably don't want to remove the label. And we're keeping our labels for the inputs. And then we have also a date. And then we have our buttons. All right, this looks pretty good actually. I'm happy with this markup. Okay, let's get styling. So here's what we have. So I removed those. So the original author of this kitchen sink HTML was using paragraph tags as block level elements. Really, I think you should be using, if you really need a block level element, use a div because it has no semantic value. Don't just use paragraph tags because paragraph tags mean something specific to the browser and to SEO and to accessibility. Also, you cannot put a block level element inside of a paragraph tag. Now, they didn't do that here, but they did put display inline block inside of a paragraph tag, which is fine, but that will break your layout. So if you need something to make it block level, use a div, and then you have the added flexibility of putting additional block level elements inside the div. That is my point. So Okay. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Okay, forms. Where do we want to do this? We'll put it up here with our global styles. We are definitely going to have to do some refactoring. Probably after we get done with this page and this kitchen sink HTML, we will need to do some refactoring. But that is fine. It's vanilla CSS. Everything's in one file. There is nothing wrong with that. But it does create a long file. Let's just do this quickly. So we've got tables. Here's some lists. Yeah. Okay, let's go after the tables. We'll just say forms. I really should write my own reset. That is what I would like to do. Okay, so I'm going to say I'm going to give this a class of form because I think it's just going to make your life easier. I'm going to say form. Is that the point of kitchen sink HTML though? Okay, we'll do this by element. So we'll say width 100%. And then for our labels, I'm going to do something very similar to what I did for the table caption and the fig caption. So I'm going to say text, transform, uppercase. We'll do a little bit of letter spacing, 1 pixel. I'm going to change the color. We could change the color to our accent color. Let's do that. And then I'm going to change the font size to 0.9 rems. So there's our labels. And then for our input, let's try to do a comprehensive list of inputs. So we've got text, email, password, but let's do type text, input, type equals email, input, type equals password, input, what else? What else do I usually use? Let's look at a list of all the input types. MDM input types. Let's take a look. Oh yeah, look at this. There's a good list here. Oh, those are attributes, excuse me. And Rayhan is here. Welcome. Glad you could join us. Yeah, let's make sure that we put in, I think the browser is going to ask us to put in an autocomplete attribute. Usually I get an error in the browser if I don't do that. Input types. Password. We could do telephone. Whoops. Telephone. URL. Yeah, autocomplete. So let's do type equals tel and type equals URL. Boy, that really makes a difference, defining those input types, especially on a mobile device. If you've ever noticed that your phone, the keyboard changes on your phone based on the type of input that you're using, that's because the type was appropriate. So for an email input on your phone, and forgive me if you already know this, not everybody knows this, the keyboard will change to support email, or if it's for a password, the characters will be hidden if you're typing in the password. For a URL or a telephone, you'll get a keyboard, numpad, like a number pad will pop up for a telephone. So, I mean, I feel like I fill out forms all the time on my mobile device, where clearly the developer who built the form didn't know that because the keyboard doesn't change based on the information I'm putting in. One moment, please. And we'll test this. When we do some QA, we'll test that on mobile and look at that. Okay, so I'm going to just say, should we just go ahead and make these display block? We'll say width 100%. We'll give them a little bit of padding, maybe 0.5 rems. Let's give them a border. I'm going to say 2 pixels, solid, and we'll use our accent color. And let's make sure, give it a little more padding. Let's make sure it has some margin. So I'm going to put margin on the bottom, 1 rem. There we go. And password. Placeholder. Are you not supposed to have placeholder on a password? All right. And I think labels should also be block level. So we'll say display block. And again, that's not like a rule or anything like that. That's just, these are just the decisions that I'm making for my styles. And you can see here right away that that's putting everything on its own line, making everything display block. Whoops. So these are just my styles. But we could rein this in. It doesn't need to be this wide. So maybe for form, it's a width of 100, but maybe if you decide to use a class of form, yeah, that's a good idea. Let's do a max width of, I don't know, 768. What is that in rems? 768 divided by 16 is 48 rems. I like it. And then we'll say margin 0 auto. Yeah, that kind of pulls that in a little bit. And then let's center our header. So we have a class just called center. So I'm just going to add a class of center there. I love it. I love it. Makes it a little less unruly. And then let's also include our text area here. Now our text area is getting those styles. So now let's work on our field sets. Well, let's style our select first. Selects are fun to style, I suppose. So here's our select. Yeah, we can make this so what is a select by default? It must be an inline element because I don't see. Usually if the user agent style sheet doesn't say exactly what, oh, here it is, display internal auto base inline block. So this is inline block by default. So I'm just going to make a display block. Again, you don't have to do this. Do we just want to add it to this? Yeah, let's just add it to this. And then let's put in our own caret because you can't style the little default caret here. There's no way to style that, but we can put our own in here. So let's do that. I think we have a caret SVG. And I'm trying to think, can we just take their styles out by saying appearance none for the select? Is that a good idea? I don't like to do appearance none. Appearance none. In the old days, that really caused a lot of problems with accessibility, but this seems to be okay. So appearance none took out that little caret. So let's put in our own caret because we can actually style our own SVG. You can't style the browser default. So let's do that. Let's just put in a note here. This removes the default arrow. Okay. So we do have our own little chevron, which is down. So I'm going to put that right here. And I'm going to make sure that this is aria hidden true. You could do this with JavaScript. If you're working with a lot of forms, you're working in a CMS, you could definitely do this with JavaScript. This is a static build, a static website. I have complete control over everything that's going on. So I'm just going to put this in as part of the template, right? I'm also going to remove the stroke current color. If you're having trouble styling your SVGs, check to see if they have inline colors, inline styles. So this is fill none, stroke current color. Don't remove the attribute, just remove the value, and now you will have complete control over styling this. Okay, so now let's make we'll say position relative, and we'll just do a z index of 0. And then we'll do select SVG, position absolute. I'm going to say top 50%, right 1 rem, translate, transform, translate x negative 50%, or actually y, excuse me, horizontal, not vertical. And then we're going to make the stroke our accent color. And then we'll make this a width of 1.5 rems. I'm guessing at all of these. We'll see what happens, but I've done this enough times to know that I'm probably pretty close. And I think we need a Z index of 1. What happened to you? Where'd you go? Not even showing up here. I don't see you anywhere. Oh, the SVG need, wait a second. Select SVG. Oh, I bet I can't put it inside the select, can I? This has to be, I bet this has to be in a div. Can we just wrap the label, or can't we just wrap the label around the select and do it that way? So then, here's what I would do. Yeah. So let's say, let me think about this. If the select is a child of the label, okay. So select has is it select has or is it label has? I think it's if the label has a select element, then it would be position relative Z index 0, and then it would be label SVG. So if the select is a child of the label, then make the label position relative with a Z index of 0, and then the SVG would be the child of the label. We don't need to check for if, though, right? We could. We could say label has SVG. But I don't know what the point of that is. Because either the SVG exists or it doesn't. So yes, it's working. It's working. We have to, the other thing we need to do here is say, so here's what's happening. It's totally working. If we click anywhere on the select, it works. But if you click directly on the SVG, you're not clicking on the select, you're clicking on the SVG. So the best way to deal with that is just say pointer events none. There we go. We just need to make sure that this is, the reason this is off is because of the label. So if we were just positioning it horizontally within the select itself, it would be perfectly centered. But now we have this extra space because of the label, which is totally fine. It just kind of throws us off a little bit. So how do we want to deal with this? How do we want to get it in there perfectly? Our select is, I don't want to put it in there with a bunch of janky math. If we know that the SVG is 24 by 24, and we know that the select has 1 rem of padding, and a rem is 16, going to take this out. And instead of top, I'm going to say bottom calc 1 rem plus, if our SVG is 1.5 rems, I'm going to say 1 rem plus this, which is just 0.75. So maybe we just want to do 1.75. Is that going to center it? No. All right, we're just going to eyeball it, I guess. Oh, it looks like 1 rem is... Looks like 1 rem would work. Okay. Okay, that works. So here's our select. I'm going to add some font weight to these labels. There we go. All right, coming right along. So here's our field sets. So we've got some styles from Normalize. The user agent style sheet, let's see what this says here. So the default browser styles for Chrome. A field set is a block level element. It's got some margin. It's got a 2-pixel border. It doesn't look like a 2-pixel border. Oh, but it's a border with 2-pixel, border style groove, border color thread face, okay, border image, and then there's some padding. So I'm going to change the border. We need to, in order to undo this or to reset these values, we're going to copy this in. So let's go to field set. So here's our user agent style sheet. I'm going to say border with 1 pixel, border style solid, and border color. Let's use our accent color. Yeah, should we just make this 2 pixels to match everything else? Let's do it. And then let's make sure that we've got margin on the bottom. There's margin in line, 2 pixels. So let's just say margin bottom, 1 rem. We don't want to. I don't want to screw up the margin on the left and right. So I'll just say margin bottom, 1 rem. Keep everything spaced out. Perfect. And then we have these labels here for the field set. The legend. I'm going to add legend right here. So those get the same styles. Beautiful. I'm thinking about keeping the label for the text area. So let's take out the screen reader only class. There we go, message. I love it. Simple, keep it simple. All right, so now we have upload a file. So for input file and input range, These are, looks like they're block display inline block. So let's just go ahead and make those block level elements. So we'll say input file type equals file. Input type equals range. Display block. And then let's give those a little bit of margin on the bottom. All right. Honestly, not sure what else to style for a file upload or a range. So no file chosen. This is part of the input. Oh, stop. And then we've got range. Let's look up the input. I want to see input type file and input type range. Like, what are the values? What can you do? I literally don't know. Input file. So here's attributes for what you can accept, capture, multiple. I mean, I don't think I've ever really seen, I guess we could add to the input, can we add a class of button to at least style the button, to style the input? No. Not really. You can't really style this button. I don't think. Oh, button solid. Huh, maybe. But you can't really style this button. All the information here is really more to do with functionality, which I completely understand. Okay, so this says here, this produces a similar looking output to the previous example. So this is choose file to upload is the label. But none of these attributes really control choose file or no file chosen or what's chosen. So I'm going to take this class out because it doesn't really do what I thought it would. And I guess it is what it is, which is just fine. Let's give our labels a little bit of space, maybe. Well, but they look okay here, so we'll just leave those. And then I think these need a little bit of cleanup here too. So inside of our field set, our radio buttons. So again, these are display inline block by default. Right here, display inline block. So I bet if we put type checkbox, type radio, which has styles from normalize. I bet if we put vertical align middle, you could see right here that makes those a little more even. You can kind of see there. So vertical align middle. So we'll add these styles, and then we'll give these a little bit of margin on the right, like maybe 5 pixels. Or we could do 8. 8 would be half a rem. And we could adjust this. It doesn't have to be middle. Sometimes we could do text top. No. We could do just do top. No, because that's aligning the buttons. Could do baseline. I think I'm going to stick with middle. Oh, it's a little tall, isn't it? Text bottom. Text bottom, which means maybe for these we want to make sure the line height is 1. Then there wouldn't be so much room on the bottom. Yeah, that makes a huge difference, but we're going to have to add a lot of spacing back in. Yeah, but I'm good with that. And then I could add the margin that I want to. Yeah. So let's do line height 1. And then let's make sure that we just have some margin on the bottom. And then for our input, type equals radio, and input type equals checkbox. We'll say vertical align middle. Look at that. And then we'll add that margin on the right of 0.5 rems. I like it. This right here. So this label is wrapped around the select. So it's not getting, so it's getting the margin on literally on the bottom of the form, which means let's just put, we can just put a div, we can put a div around that. That's fine. But we do want to be able to style this. We want it to be a div because we want it to be a block level element. You could definitely do a span, but you're going to have to change, it to display block or display inline block. So again, we can do this. We can say if a label has a div, no, we don't want to do that. We would just say label div. And we could say margin 0.5 rems. There we go. Now our spacing is matching. Very nice. I like this. Okay, let's check and see range. What's going on with range? MDN input type range. What are the values? What can I do? So here are the, okay, so we've got type, ID name. You can do min, max, value or step doesn't really control. I don't care about that so much. I'm thinking more, can I make this wider and can I change the color? Validation, additional attributes. Note, the following input attributes do not apply to the input range. Except alt checked, directory name, form action, form, I guess this is this in code type, form method, form no validate, form target, height, max length, min length, multiple pattern placeholder, read only required, size, and source. Any of these attributes, if included, will be ignored. So the min and the max are all about literally the value, not the actual size. Oh, so could I create an actual? No. So there isn't really anything I can do. I mean, what's the point of including it as kitchen sink? I guess if you wanted to put in those extra attributes or those steps, I guess that's the point of including it. Yeah, so I'm not going to worry too much about it. Okay. Well, we have a label. Although, how could I change the color? Do you have to use JavaScript to change the color? Oh, that's what we have to do, is we literally have to say width 100%. Okay. Guess I missed that. So we'll say width 100%. Can I just change the color? No. Range. Okay. Are there any other values here that look blue? Nope. Okay. How to change color of input type range. Let's see here. One moment, please. Okay. You can change the color of an input type range in CSS using the accent color property. Okay, accent color, let's do it. Accent color. Make it literally our accent color. There it is. Perfect. That's all I wanted. Love it. Let's do how to style input type file. How to style input type file with CSS. You can style an input type file in two primary ways by using the modern file selector button. Okay, file selector button pseudo element for direct styling of the button, or by using the custom label hack. Let's do file selector button. Yeah. Let's grab our button styles. Where's our button styles? So here's our button styles. Move this out of the way. So here's our button styles. So I'm going to borrow these. File selector button, input, file selector button. File selector button. And we're going to take this out. And we'll change this to accent. And then we don't need this. And let's move this up. There we go. That makes so much more sense. Okay, so now we need to do a hover focus active, or excuse me, focus hover active. It's below, right here. I'm just going to borrow these. We really just have to change. I'm going to borrow these, and then we just have to change the color to white. Oh. I'm going to take this. So this is a pseudo element, and then focus hover active are pseudo classes. And you can put a pseudo class on a pseudo element, because a pseudo element is an actual object in the DOM, and you can, and it clearly you can style it. So we're just going to replace this button class like that. This should work. So we want the color to change from white to our accent color. There we go. And let's make sure that this is a cursor pointer. Somebody asked me yesterday, I think they sort of said, at what point do you Google something, or why aren't you Googling things or asking for help more often? And I ask for, I don't know, I ask for help when I need it, right? I try to figure stuff out myself. I like to read documentation. I think that's a really important skill to have, actually, to be able to read documentation. So, yeah, I don't know. I just try to problem solve and figure stuff out for myself. So, okay, we have one left. Oh, And Prakash says, love your consistency, huge respect. Thank you. Appreciate that. This might be a good time. Let's take a little break. We're about 90 minutes in here. This might be a good time to kindly ask for people to like the video. Subscribe if you're not already. Helps the algorithm, helps push this type of content out to more people who might be interested in front-end development in particular. Helps the channel grow, and I appreciate all of you fine people who tune in to watch. I'm here 4 days a week, so I'm generally here Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday at 10:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. Doing a little 6-day sprint this week. We're going to do it next week as well, making up for a little lost time in February. But you know, we're feeding the algorithm. We're feeding the algorithm, right? We're giving YouTube exactly what they want. Yeah, so there's that. And Gogo Elmo is here, Malik. No second meeting. Well, we're having a very chill day where people, oh, there's too many people missing. Yeah, that happens. Sometimes meetings get called off because people just aren't there. So thank you. Appreciate that. Malik is a mod in the chat. He has an unbroken streak. He never misses a stream. And he, as often as I tell him that I appreciate him, he will never fully understand how much I appreciate him. He's doing his very first web design internship right now and learning lots. Seems to be enjoying himself, which I'm so grateful. I'm glad. What else was I going to say? If you're hanging out on Instagram, come follow me on Instagram. My handle is Angela J. Holden. I post a little bit. I wish I posted more on Instagram. I have lots of ideas, but I seem to be a bit short on execution right now. But I'm definitely a doom scroller on Reels. I spend quite a bit of time on Instagram. If you have questions for me, you are welcome to DM me. That's a good place. So yeah, that's a good place to find me. Just reach out. Let me know if you have any questions about anything. I know I have a couple DMs waiting for me. I'll get to you. I promise I'll get to you. And Malik says, I am the iron fortress of this stream. And I appreciate that. I think about the years that I spent wanting to be on YouTube, loving YouTube, wanting to be on YouTube, and not being brave enough to be on YouTube. And then I finally did it. I started streaming, and now, I love it. It's so fun. I enjoy it a lot. And then to have people show up and support me and hang out in the chat, ask me questions, being willing to be a moderator, it's so cool. It's the coolest feeling in the world. If you're thinking about doing something like this, I can't recommend it enough. It's done amazing things for my confidence. Not only that, but the whole point of this was to practice more and to get better at front-end development. I've been doing this now for almost 13 years. It'll be 13 years in May. I do have a software engineering degree, although I will say I am not an object-oriented programmer. Like, I really struggle with object-oriented programming, but building UIs is what I'm really, really good at. I also really love deployment, and I started doing deployment content on this channel a couple months ago. So every project that we do, we have a deployment day. I'm a big fan of DigitalOcean. I love a good LAMP stack, which is Linux, Apache, MySQL, and PHP. I learned how to set up a LAMP stack in the beginning of my career because I started out as a WordPress developer, and that is a very common server setup for WordPress. And spoiler alert, it works beautifully for static websites too. So that's what I tend to set up. We talk about virtual hosts. We set up SSL certificates. I show you how I configure DNS settings. So you can go out and get yourself a nice branded .com domain name, which I think every developer should have a branded domain name and should have a portfolio and know how to deploy their content or deploy their work. Because especially if you're a front-end developer, seeing your work in the browser. Like the whole point to me of front end development is that you see your work in the browser, and I want you to understand how to do the deployment as well. So we do that here too. Yeah, hang out, stick around. I'm here most days. Yeah, so there's that. Okay. Well, there was a little talking break. And if, as always, if you have questions, put them in the chat. I'm happy to read them out loud to the class. I love answering questions. I love hearing what people are thinking. So, but let's get back to it. Let's keep going here. So I think really the final input that we need to style is the date input. So let's see if we can borrow some of the styles that we've got here. I kind of feel like we could just add it here. Input type equals date. Yeah, on it, that perfect. That worked beautifully. And the browser already does a really nice job of styling this. There's literally nothing for me to do here. Look at that. So what do we think? This is not the first time I've styled kitchen sink form styles, but figuring out that I could change the range, color, and width, which seems a bit obvious in hindsight, and finding this pseudo element to style the button, this is perfect. And then we have our 3 buttons here: submit, reset, and then just good old-fashioned button. What do we think? I love it. I love it. And then we have an aside. Let's take a look here briefly at our aside. Which is outside of the section. It's got a wrap. I don't know if there's really anything for us to do here, right? Yeah, I don't think there's really anything else for us to do here. Let's go ahead. This looks very nice. Okay, let's do a couple of things. I was thinking about this yesterday too. So this is obviously full width. I was thinking about making, this is the description list. And these items are the description, is it description data? Is that what that means? MDN DD element. The description details element. I made those block level elements. I was kind of thinking that I would make these instead. Oh, the user agent style sheet makes them block level elements. I was thinking about making them display inline block, so the background is only as big as the content. So what if we change this to display inline block? Yeah, description details. I think the stream's on a delay. Description details is the correct. So what do we think? Display inline block. And then let's just give this a full rem of padding. No, it should be a little less on top, but maybe a little more. There. I don't know. Thoughts? I am going to change the padding. I'm going to add a little more padding on top, but I'm not going to change the display. Oops. Oh my gosh. I'm getting to the point now in this, we're getting to the point now where it's getting a little harder to find stuff, but that's okay. Okay, we'll leave that alone. What else was I thinking I wanted to do? Yeah, here. I want to, the padding and the margin don't quite match here, and that's because in this code block we have a pre-element with a code element, and this is just a pre-element. So let's see if we can get those to match up a little bit. So I'm going to add 1 point, I'm going to change this to 1.25 and 1.5, and I think those will match. No, hang on. Pre and code. I think I need to change my approach here for this. So pre would come before code, and then there would be pre and code. All right, fair enough. So I want pre to have, I do want pre to have 1.25 rems on top and 1.5 rems on the left and right. I do want code to have 0.25 on the top and bottom and 0.5 on the left and right. However, if pre has code, then we change these values. So pre has code. Then I want the padding to be 1 rem on the top and bottom, right? Well, I think just 1 rem all the way around. We're so close. There we go. That's it. Look, they look even. Okay, so we have, right here, we have a code element inside, where are we here? So here is here's a paragraph tag with a code element. The code element is inline block and it's got a little bit of padding around it, but it's still inline block, so it flows with the text. Then we have a pre-element with a code element. So this is basically saying if the pre-element has a code element, then change the padding, because the pre-padding by default is 1.25 rems on top and bottom, 1.5 rems on the left and right. But the code element also has padding. So if the pre-element has this, then change the padding. And then they're both equal. Ooh, I love that. Has is maybe the greatest thing to happen to CSS, because it's literally like a condition. You can literally put in a condition to your CSS. So, why don't you prefer SCSS? I'm not sure that I ever said that I didn't prefer. Well, I mean, I like vanilla JavaScript just because I like, so I was a Sass user for over a decade, many years. I mean, I started learning Sass in 2011, 2012, right in there. And I used Sass for well over a decade. Now I tend to use vanilla CSS on this channel and in my personal projects because I just enjoy the process. My specificity and inheritance is so much tighter and so much cleaner than it ever used to be. Much better at understanding user agent style sheets. These are all things I've just gotten so much better at. With my Sass, my nesting was out of control. Just absolutely out of control. I was overly specific in some spaces, and I wasn't specific enough in other spaces. So switching to vanilla just helped me get better at CSS, and it helped me understand so much more about how the browser is really working. User agent style sheets, specificity, cascading, inheritance, those things. I did not have a clear picture of what those things were until I switched to vanilla. So I don't have a problem with Sass or SCSS. I just think that for my own personal development, professional development, switching to vanilla CSS made me better at this. That's why I decided to do it. If you were working on a large enterprise level project or doing client work, vanilla CSS may not be appropriate because look how long your style sheets can get. I mean, how long is this getting already? 14, almost 1,500 lines of code. I mean, in a huge enterprise level project, that could easily be tens of thousands of lines of CSS, and that's not manageable. And I'm not suggesting that vanilla CSS is a good solution for big projects. What I am suggesting is that if you have a desire to get better at CSS, to understand better how the browser actually works, to understand specificity, cascade, inheritance, do a couple of projects with vanilla CSS and you will start to have a better understanding. It'll make you better, and it'll make your Sass or your less or whatever you write your CSS with, it'll make it tighter and cleaner and more efficient. So that's the whole point. It's just about practicing and improving our skills for the things that the browser already does natively. So there's that. We maybe want to, I think that we should still put in some extra code here, but I'll also, maybe I don't care that much. Because now I'm also thinking that we didn't really put in any media queries for our columns. So let's do that really quick. And then let's go ahead and push this. And then I might be done for the day. Because I feel like we're kind of done now with our kitchen sink styles. So I'm going to put a media query here. Max width. And Prakash is saying, wow, that's amazing. I agree with your thoughts. Yeah. You don't have to agree with me, by the way. That's not a requirement. But I appreciate that. I'll defend anything, any decision that I make. So let's go ahead and do a media query starting at, I mean, this holds up pretty well to 768. We'll put in a media query here at 768. We'll do that first. 768 pixels. And I'm going to say for the 2-column layout, I'm going to switch this to columns. I guess 1. and then 3 column, columns 2 auto. So that switches it to 2. And then we'll do another media query. What, 600? Max width. Well, but if this is 2 columns, no, let's just make them all one. We'll just make them all one. There we go. There we go. And Malik says, I disagree just for the sake of disagreeing. Okay. Cute. All right, let's go ahead and push this up. And then we'll come back tomorrow. And what are we going to do tomorrow? Let me think about that for a second. All right, get status, get add, get commit, finish, styling, kitchen, sync, HTML. All right. I like it. I'm very happy with what we did today. I think tomorrow we should do a little bit of QA. I would like to QA the home page. I would like to put a bigger code block here, just so you could really see like some lengthy JavaScript, HTML, CSS, so we can get a sense of what that's really going to look like. And just do some QA like on a mobile device. Let's test on a mobile device and make sure that we're getting the correct keyboard when we put our, so the keyboard for the type text, the keyboard for enter your email, the keyboard for password, those would all be different. But also maybe we could put in a couple extra inputs for like telephone, something like that. We'll check the keyboard for date. This isn't obviously going to submit anywhere, but let's at least check on mobile to see how things are looking. Yeah, and let's start tomorrow with some QA. That's what I'm thinking we should do. And then we can go ahead and start making the inner pages for about and contact. Yeah, good day. Good day. I like it. You know, another quiet day in the chat. I'm totally fine with that. People just want to come and chill and hang out and keep me on in the background. I think that's great. I love that. We're all just coding together. Do me a favor, like the video, subscribe if you haven't already. It helps the algorithm, helps the channel continue to grow. And if you want to come hang out with me over on Instagram, my handle, Angela J. Holden. You're welcome to DM me if you have any questions about what we're doing here on YouTube. So there's that. And Mahesh is here. Hello. Welcome. Thanks for coming to hang out. Appreciate it. I think that might be it for the day. That might be it for me. I'll be back tomorrow morning to 10:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. We'll do some QA on mobile. Yeah, maybe tomorrow could just be kind of like a QA day. I think that would be actually a good use of our time. Might be a good idea too to actually, we have a QA document and just make a list of things that we're seeing that we want to work on. Maybe there's some things that we want to add. Maybe if we have time, we could also work on our 404 page. There's that too. That would actually be a really good idea to work on the 40, to do QA and work on our 404 page. I like that. I think that's a good plan for tomorrow. We're moving right along, everybody. I love all you fine people. Have a great rest of your day wherever you are. And I'll see you tomorrow, okay? Bye-bye.